I've been low, lower than the floor. That negativity you force on top of me. Only I can set me free. I wanna be the best that I can be. You better go, you better
How's everybody doing on this fantastic Friday, whatever you want to say? Ohio State versus Penn State. We're going to get right to it. The video that you're watching is the chapter 3 video reel of Ohio State. Props to Ohio State Buckeyes, Ohio State Athletics, Ohio State Committee, Ohio State Media for doing all that. It's pretty sweet, so I had to throw it in there. So hope you guys enjoy that. So Ohio State wide receivers at stake their claim as the college football's best in the nation. The room highlights multiple long lists of legendary names. Here's a quote: "You come to Ohio State to be part of the best wide receiving corps that I think there's ever been, because there's a torch that has been passed to us and that pushes us to defend that legacy, and that is Emeka Egbuka, with the current leader with 48 catches and the 9th best receiver in the nation in yards per game with 105 over 7 games. And then there's Egbuka. Chris Carter's the greatest respect to Chris Carter, David Boston, Terry Glenn. At no point has anyone ever dared to declare that Ohio State University as wide receiver U until now." So 6 Heisman legends: Archie Griffin, 1, 2. All were running backs with the exception of Troy Smith, the quarterback, back in 2006. Of the school's 32 members of the College Football Hall of Fame, none are true wide receivers, and 2 are listed as end. Of the Buckeyes' 213 all-time All-American selections, there are tight ends scattered around, but only 5 of those honors were awarded to true wideouts, and between 1914 and 2020, they had only 3 in Carter, Boston, and Glenn. But 1 year ago, the Buckeyes had 2, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, now rookie starters with the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets. Now entering this season, the All-American Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's still in the men from a Week 1 hamstring against Notre Dame. Last week when the midseason awards were announced, there were a pair of Ohio State wideouts on the list: Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr. Now those honors were announced leading up to the game of Iowa, when those 2 teammates, Julian Fleming and Mitch Rossi, each hauled in a touchdown catch against Iowa Hawkeyes. Egbuka, Harrison, and a tight end, Cade Stover, each have at least 1 catch in all 7 games this season. Stats and facts is what I'm all about, kids. So those 3 and Fleming have combined for 30 plays, 20-plus yards. Harrison, Egbuka, and Fleming are among the nation's touchdown reception leaders with a combined 23 TDs. Harrison's 10 touchdowns rank 2nd in the nation, and he is first receiver to have 3 games of 3 touchdown catches in a 132-year history of the Ohio State organization. So look at that. Quote: "When you just get around them, you realize that for their age, they don't look like they're 18, 19, and 20. They don't talk like it. They don't act like it. They don't speak like it. But Coach Day says it's in his 4th season, Ohio State's coach, it's pretty remarkable sometimes when you think about who they are as people and just the maturity level of all those guys," end quote. So you got quarterback C.J. Stroud, which is a Heisman hopeful, Heisman Trophy winner, I think, this year. He's going to win the freaking Heisman. I'm calling it right now. I call shit out. Nobody ever freaking listens. Y'all better get on the ball here and listen to your boy. Stroud was talking about a pass that he had thrown in the right rear corner of the end zone that was intended for Harrison, but wound up being snagged by Fleming for a tiptoe TD when the 3rd-year wideout unknowingly stepped in front of the famous teammate. So they're ready to play. The wideouts are ready to play in OSU in the Buckeye Nation. That's all I'm trying to say. Now let's get to the next topic. Ohio State finally takes the test at Penn State, and Tennessee gets to warm up. So Ohio State is finally playing somebody. We thought they were going to be playing number 5 Notre Dame in the first game of the season. Found out that's not going to happen. Ohio State blowing everyone away. That should be enough to have faith in the Buckeyes win over Penn State. This game has been a fork in the road for Penn State as of late. Ohio State has won 9 of the last 10 meetings while establishing itself as the Big Ten dominance of the decade. This matchup foreshadows the future for the Big Ten. Conference edges toward one division play likely in 2024. The goal will become finding your team among top 2 for a spot in the league title game. Until further notice, it's going to be the same old Big 2. Ohio State, Michigan are the front runners of the Big Ten. Penn State would be one of those contenders, though. It traditionally has been. Critics haven't piled on because of Ohio State's easy schedule. Some things you have to take into faith with Coach Day is yet to lose a second Big Ten game in year 4 as a head coach. Has not, let me say that again, Coach Ryan Day has not lost a game in the Big Ten. Ohio State is winning with an established Heisman Trophy finalist, at quarterback C.J. Stroud, which I think he's going to win the Heisman without their back with Trevion Henderson and wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both have been injured. Trevion Henderson is obviously back, but Smith-Njigba has been out all year since the Notre Dame game. That hole in the lineup hasn't mattered, though, for the Buckeyes. Smith-Njigba's absence allowed sophomore Ibuka 41 catches, 7 touchdowns to be inserted in the All-American conversation. Don't forget sophomore Marvin Harrison Jr., 38 catches, 10 touchdowns. Penn State is get to be more consistent. QB Sean Clifford has to get closer to Ohio State in general, so that's going to be tough. So Ohio State, throwing some stats and facts out there for you guys. Ohio State faces its first test. Let's see, heads to Penn State. They're going to Happy Valley in the first serious road game for the Buckeyes, who've played 6 of their first 7 games at home. So you can say a lot of the haters out there, they haven't played anybody, and they've played all the home games. The Nittany Lions have hung with Ohio State for the past 5 games, but they have all losses. So it shapes up to be a really good swing for the balance in the Big Ten East if they can pull away against them. So I think Ohio State is going to beat Penn State rather easily, but we're going to talk about the over-under and all that stuff here in a second. Buckeyes have played their first game of the year against a ranked opponent when they faced the 5th-ranked Notre Dame in their opener and handed them a loss with ease. And then earlier this month, they beat Michigan State 49-20. Going off on the current rankings, Ohio State will face its biggest test yet of the season against Penn State. Penn State is 6-1, 3-1 in the Big Ten. This is going to be at Beaver Stadium at State College in Happy Valley. It's going to be on Fox. Penn State ranks 13th in both the major polls, and Ohio State first 7 opponents are currently ranked in the top 25 of either poll, and the Nittany Lions have a reputation for playing Ohio State tough. Yes, they do. Indiana plays as tough as well. But each of the last 6 games between the two teams have been decided by 13 points or fewer, though Penn State hasn't actually beaten the Buckeyes since 2016. Penn State hasn't won since 2016. That was the Buckeyes' second most recent trip to Penn State, in which they played in front of fans and all that stuff. Ohio State is prepared for that challenge by playing loud crowd noise over the speakers in practice this week to simulate what the Buckeyes will have to deal with when they have the ball Saturday afternoon. Big noon kickoff on Fox. Check it out. Now, at the same time, the Buckeyes have tried to keep their preparation this week consistent with what's worked for them through their first 7 games of the season. Quote, if you psych yourself up, you turn into something that isn't. Ohio State left guard Donovan Jackson said, they're a very, very talented team, very aggressive team. But at the end of the day, you just got to play Ohio State football. End quote. That's what I'm talking about. Donovan Jackson, I love you. Put him just for the quote of that. Just for the saying, give him a freaking Buckeye sticker on his freaking helmet, please. Thank you. Beat team Ohio State has played. Best teams Ohio State has played by the numbers. Nittany Lions have a better record, 6-1, than any team Ohio State has faced so far. They're ranked 14th, 10 spots higher than Wisconsin, ESPN's SP Plus rankings. Let's see. Even Ohio State is favored to win Saturday's game by 15.5 points. Penn State lost 41-17 to Michigan in its only game against a ranked opponent so far this year. So Michigan dominated them. Let's see. Nittany Lions have the talent to make life more difficult for Ohio State. Offensively, Coach Day says their combination of Sean Clifford at quarterback and a talented wide receiver core will be the biggest challenge Ohio State has faced so far this year. Quote, we're going to get challenged across the board, Ohio State offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson said. A chance for the run game to get back on track. Ohio State scored 54 points against Iowa, the most ever allowed by Kirk Ferentz, coach of Iowa's team. Working through the kinks in the run game has been a big point of emphasis for Ohio State. Got to get tough. It all starts where, boys? It all starts in the freaking trenches, and you got to get your offensive line pushing those defensive linemen back to get that Trevion Henderson, Mayan Williams run game churning and burning. Even the struggles against that Hawkeyes, Ohio State still ranks 13th in the FBS in rushing, 5.56 yards per attempt, 21st in rushing per game at 204.9. And this week's game could be a prime opportunity for the Buckeyes to get back on track on the rushing game. Penn State allowed a whopping 418 rushing yards, 7.6 per attempt against Michigan. I will have to say, Michigan's run game looks a little bit better than Ohio State's run game. I will have to say that. But obviously, our QB, CJ Stroud, a Heisman hopeful, that pretty much takes over that. Quote, it's just about us being ourselves, Penn State linebacker Curtis Jacobs says. So JSN status in doubt again. Ryan Day said Tuesday's plan was Jackson Smith-Njigba to be available to play against Penn State. He's going to be available to play. Stroud's response when he asked Wednesday about Smith-Njigba's status also cast doubt on receivers' availability. The best ability is availability, kids. Remember that, young boys. The Buckeyes have gotten along just fine, averaging 49.6 without Smith-Njigba, 517.4 yards per game. Stats and facts, baby. Ranked as the number one running back in the recruiting class of 2022, Singleton has made an immediate impact for Penn State as a true freshman. The explosive runner leads the Nittany Lions with 561 yards rushing, 82 carries, 7 touchdowns. So watch out for him. So we're going to have to watch out for Singleton in the backfield. All right. Ohio State, Penn State. 3 players to watch in this matchup before we get to the nice spread over-under points and who I'm going to pick. Number 1, Joey Porter Jr. is the best DB the Ohio State football team has faced. Ohio State has been able to throw the ball over the field against everyone they've played so far this year. So Joey Porter Jr., he is a whopping 11 passes defended. Does a good job to make sure that the receiver he is covering doesn't catch the ball if it's thrown his way. Really anxious to see how CJ Stroud is able to get the ball off and just don't throw his way maybe. Maybe for the first 2 quarters or so, till you get used to it, until you get in the groove, don't even throw over there. Can Zach Harrison be the best defensive lineman again for the Ohio State football team? Zach Harrison, against Iowa, was all over the place. He's making tackles behind line of scrimmage, batting balls down, and making plays hard on 3rd down, rocking and rolling. Harrison has mostly been a disappointment in his time with Buckeyes, though. Sack numbers this year are not as great as what Coach Jim Knowles, defensive coach Jim Knowles, is wanting to have happen. So the final player that I am watching in this Big Ten matchup is a guy who I think is the X factor in this game, and that, of course, is Zach Harrison. So watch him in the backfield, hopefully get into Sean there in the backfield. All right. Julian Fleming, wide receiver X factor for the Ohio State football team. Was the number 1 receiver in the 2020 class. He had injuries. He only played 12 games first 2 years with the Buckeyes. Caught a total of 1 touchdown pass in the time. He caught a total of 19 passes, too. Simply put, he was an afterthought in the offense. But he is back. Fleming has a chance to play well in this game. He caught a long 79-yard bomb from Stroud against Iowa last week. So Porter Jr. is going to be probably locking down on Harrison Jr. or Fleming. He's going to have to pick one of the two. And if you don't pick the wrong one, CJ Stroud's going to burn you. So got to give you props to that. Stats and facts, baby. That's what I'm all about. That's what I told you I'm all about. And that's what we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and get into the preview of this game. Ohio State, number 2, Nittany Lions, Penn State, number 13, 7-0, undefeated Buckeyes, taking on Penn State, 6-1, 3-1 in division. Saturday noon kickoff on Fox. Money line, 15.5 points. Series record, Ohio State leads 23-14. The Buckeyes are looking to stay perfect while the Nittany Lions are trying to get back in the Big Ten East. Having already dropped a game to Michigan, a loss would almost certainly end Penn State's division hopes. Key matchup, Penn State secondary versus Ohio State passing offense. Stroud is one of the FBS sharpest passers in the NCAA. Penn State's secondary is full of ball hawks. We already talked about all that. Players to watch. We talked already about the players to watch. We're going to get into it again. C.J. Stroud, the Heisman hopeful, 20 of 30 passes, 206 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 54-10 win over Iowa last week. He's going to hope to continue that. He leads the nation in 28 touchdowns, 203.9 passing efficiency. He has been responsible for 168 points overall. How much stats do you want me to give out for the Ohio State Buckeyes? We are number 1. We should be number 1 above Georgia. Screw the SEC. I'm tired of the SEC getting all the love, getting all this committee bullshit. Ohio State should be number 1, and we're going to go to the championship and win it freaking all. You heard it here first. Penn State's running back Nick Singleton. We talked about him earlier. The freshman has shared the backfield with Katron Allen all season long. Allen's been steady, but Singleton is the greater big play threat. He's got 4 touchdowns and runs of over 30 yards or longer. Facts and figures. Both teams are ranked in the top AP 25 6 consecutive meeting. Ohio State has won 5 consecutive over Penn State, 9 of the last 11. 14 of the 88 games in the series have been decided by a touchdown or less. We've talked about that. Stroud is the first Big Ten quarterback in history to have 3 games with 6 touchdown passes. C.J. Stroud is the first Big Ten quarterback in history to have 3 games with 6 touchdown passes. Can he get 6 again? The Buckeyes are the second-ranked defense in the country. We talked about that. Coach Day said that in preseason. We want to be a Big Ten, number 10 in our defense. What am I talking about? B10, top 10 in the defense. 239.9 yards per game. That's what they're allowing. Ohio State is the only offense with perfect red zone efficiency. We've talked about that last week. Has scored on all 36 trips in the red zone, including 31 touchdowns. Try to get some, Penn State. Try it. Now, Penn State safety Jahir Brown has 3 of his 9 career interceptions this season. And wide receiver Parker Washington leads the Nittany Lions with 30 catches for 388 yards. So there's your stats and facts, and that's what we're talking about. Over, under. Ohio State's supposed to win by 15. It's going to be a nice brisk 49 degrees in Beaver Stadium at University Park. Nittany Lions, October 29th at high noon. Be ready for the kickoff. Ohio State's going to be favored by 15, and we're going to win by at least 20. Over, under, 60.5. Ohio State, look for Ohio State and Coach Day and Jim Knowles' defense to make a statement. This is a nice statement game. People could be saying it's a trap game, but it's a nice statement game for Ohio State to put up and shut up all the teams that they're playing. They have a very talented team, from the wide receiving core to the trenches to C.J. Stroud, the Heisman hopeful, and the defense and special teams. They're going to look for special teams, though. Ohio State might have a block kick, might have a block field goal attempt, or a run back for a touchdown. I'm just throwing it out there because this is when it usually steps up. So Ohio State wins big in Happy Valley. I will say, I didn't even get to the over. Hold on a second. Why didn't I do the over-under? What a freaking idiot. So they're favored by 15, and they will win by 15. Now, the over-under is 60.5. I will have to say, let's see. They've been scoring like 40-plus points all year long. Let's do 40. I'm going to do 45. Keep it safe. 45 to 20. 45-21. And that covers. 45-21 in Happy Valley, and it covers the over. 45-21, you heard it here. Love you guys. God bless. Tip the waitress.